Miami bounced back with two solid wins this weekend, including Sunday night's game over the shorthanded Phoenix Suns. We'll break down the top performances of the night, but Wes, has Bam Adebayo finally found his groove this season?
He may have found his groove. One thing I know for sure, we lost the comments about trading Bam.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Whether you're tuning in on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app, thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Join the Cookie Gang, become an everydayer. That means subscribing, tuning in every day, Monday through Friday, and signing up for the Everydayer Club with the link in the show notes. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 of bonus bets if you win. I'm Wes Goldberg, host of Locked On NBA Daily and Real GM Radio. I'm here with David Ramil. Both of us are credentialed Heat media members who cover this team every day. Jam-packed show for you today. We've got credit cookies in the oven, listener questions to get to, including one about whether this is exactly what we should have expected all along from Bam Adebayo. But David, recording this after the Heat's win in Phoenix to close out a West Coast trip, 3-2. Look, all things considered, that's as successful a trip as I think we could have asked for. And what really stood out to me over this stretch is the emphasis on offensive rebounding. And in this game against Phoenix, the Heat grabbed 18 offensive rebounds, had 19 second chance points, compared to, you look at their season averages, 11.8 offensive rebounds on the season, 15.8 second chance points per game of the season. The difference was even more dramatic in that win against the Jazz on Saturday night, David. The offensive rebounding, when you look at what's changed for this Heat team, and we don't have to do the whole as the season turned around, the whole thing. Just let's look at what's in front of us. And ever since that Oklahoma City Thunder win, when the team talked about, hey, Eric Spoelstra showed us some stats from last year and from this year, and we're looking at a specific point of emphasis. And I got on the show the next day and I said, offensive rebounding is that mystery stat that Eric Spoelstra was pointing to. And you've seen that emphasis now, not just with the numbers, right? Obviously, the results speak for themselves there, but you're watching these games. They're consistently sending 3 guys to the offensive boards every time. For a team that is not efficient scoring-wise, right? This is not a team that is highly rated in offensive rating, but they do tend to score a lot of points. This is not an efficient team. This is a volume team when it comes to offense. And the offensive rebounding now, I think, is a really key part of this formula. And I think it's been a very good strategic move by this coaching staff, David.
Absolutely. It's been a concerted effort, and you can see that watching this game, how much of an effort that they're making. It's a clear point of emphasis where they're looking to actually pursue these. In losses, the most egregious losses of late, you could tell that there was, because of a lack of size, because of a lack of engagement, for whatever reason it was, they just weren't chasing after those loose balls the way that they could have. Tonight and on Saturday against the Utah Jazz, over the course of this West Coast road trip, maybe with a little bit higher degree, but particularly of late, I think you're starting to see this team say, you know what, this is our best opportunity. This is our way of getting easier points, generating some extra opportunities for us because they recognize their own deficiencies. And so that's a level of self-awareness, perhaps, or maybe it's just the coaching staff cracking down and saying, this is what we need to do differently. I'm not sure if it's a combination of those two factors, but either way, you can see a marked difference in this group making the effort to go after those rebounds and to create those extra opportunities. And it's paid off with a couple of easy wins against some not so great teams. Well, the Phoenix Suns surprisingly good, but a little shorthanded without Devin Booker. Yeah, I mean, they're a solid team overall. And I think it was a good win for Miami. And again, you've talked about often process over results. The process has paid off of late for Miami because they're doing these little things that help them generate those extra opportunities that lead to additional points for an offense, as you've pointed out, that is not particularly efficient.
And what really stood out to me in this game is they struggled to make shots for most of the game, but they stayed in it and even had a lead early. To be fair, both teams did struggle to make shots, but for the Heat's purposes, they really couldn't make a field goal for most of that first half. And they stayed in it and even got leads because of the offensive rebounds, because of those extra possessions. And that's just going to be the case every single night, where at the first kind of half of the season, it just felt like, hey, if the Heat make a bunch of their shots, they win a lot of their games.
Sure.
And you don't, that sounds obvious, and it sounds like, yeah, of course, that's probably for most teams. It's not. Like, for the good teams, they find other ways to win. Like the Thunder, for instance. Maybe it's unfair to compare yourself to the defending champs, but it's like, even when their shots aren't going in, they tend to still win a lot of games because they get steals and they create extra possessions that way, or whatever it might be, right? There's other teams in the league that win on the other on some of these margins, and for most of the season, it didn't really feel like the Heat had a marginal advantage of any kind, other than, and I think what they tried to start with in the season was pace, right? We're just going to outpace you, and that's the margin we're going to win with. But it became clear through the first half of the season that it didn't matter what tempo they played at. It didn't have any real effect on the wins and losses. They were basically 500. They were 5-5 in their top 10 most up tempo games of the season. So it didn't matter whether they played fast or not. They needed to find another marginal difference. And given that what was in front of them was, hey, we could get a lot of field goal attempts. We just don't make a lot of field goals, but we're really good at getting a lot of attempts. Okay, well then how do we increase our efficiency? Well, we're not really gonna. We can't just say, well, we got to make more shots, because that's obvious. And we've talked about the lack of shot making talent on this roster. That's just hard to do. So instead of just trying to live with the variance of a make or miss league, where's another place where we can get increase our efficiency? Well, if we're going to miss a bunch of shots, that means there's going to be a lot of offensive rebounds out there for us to grab. And so I think that schematic change was really huge. And I think tonight's game was, it was a perfect encapsulation. They shot 42% in this game, and they scored 111 points, and they did it because of a lot of second chance points.
Yeah, I mean, 93 field goals on the day. Not bad. Phoenix, conversely, I mean, look at them. They shot 100 field goals and only shot 37% overall, 37 of 100. So that poor shooting night, a lot of missed opportunities on both ends. But for Miami, if you're going to, try to put up as many shots as possible, knowing that you're not going to be able to knock those down at the rate you'd like, you better create those second chance opportunities. And in order to do so, they needed to win the rebounding edge. Phoenix is not a particularly big team, even with Mark Williams out there, but they did win the rebounding battle. 59 total rebounds to 56 for Phoenix. So not a huge margin, but again, that's a little bit of a difference. It was just enough. And you know what? That's what you're trying to do against a solid team like Phoenix, albeit one without Devin Booker. Miami had to create an opportunity, an advantage for themselves, and I think they did it. I mean, their defense was okay. Their offense was not particularly good, but you need to do little things throughout the course of the game that create swing moments throughout the course of the game, whether it was the right turnover at the right time, finding the right cutter, finding those extra opportunities by getting that rebound. And to their credit, Miami was able to pull it off tonight.
Find a way to win, right? Despite the fact that you're not making shots, and that was the difference. When you don't make when they didn't make shots, they lost before. And with this, a few more tweaks. And I want to be very clear here. This game is not the model for the Miami Heat going forward. Like you said, this was a so-so ho-hum game for most of it, but you get in at 5 a.m. after a delayed flight from Salt Lake City, and you're down 3 core players. Phoenix was down Devin Booker for sure. I understand that. That's obviously a big deal for Phoenix, but both of these teams were down a bunch of important players, and you're on the second night of a back-to-back on the road on the end of a long trip. You take the wins where you can get them, in other words. And this was a good one to close out the trip 3-2. We didn't talk about the Utah Jazz game because that was Saturday night, David, but you look at their rebounding rate in that, they rebounded nearly 50% of their own misses in that game. That's an insane rate. They broke records. You can go look at all the beat reporter stories on all these crazy numbers and stuff. The Utah Jazz stink, and they do it on purpose, and I get that, but that's still pretty hard to do against any other NBA players. I guess the obvious next question is this sustainable? Because we saw them come out this season with a breakneck pace, and now we've got this emphasis on still pace, sure, but also on the offensive rebounding. The one thing that those two things have in common is a lot of effort, right? It's a lot of effort to run really fast. It's a lot of effort to crash the boards consistently. I guess as we've seen that pace kind of dwindle and not be as effective, I guess the next question, David, is how long is this sustainable in terms of the offensive rebounding stuff of this? Because the Heat are not a big team. They don't do it the same way the Houston Rockets do, where they're just bigger and they play 3 centers at a time. They don't do it that way.
Yeah, I get the feeling it's not. I don't mean to rain on anybody's parade here. It just doesn't seem like it is. I think, honestly, the insertion of Kasparas Jaquez into the starting lineup has helped in that regard. Even without Tyler Hero, who's a solid rebounder for his position, I would say that Jaquez has helped a much taller player Then Davion Mitchell, he's getting the nod there. He finished the night with 6 rebounds.
Yeah.
We're talking about those small marginal victories. And I think that certainly has helped. So once the lineup does revert back to normal, who knows? But by the same token, you're doing this without Kel'el Ware, who is a very solid rebounder. So I don't know. It doesn't feel sustainable, but at the same time, knowing that they're going to have to go through lineup changes throughout the course of the season, that's just what this team has always done. I'd like to think that at least they understand, they have the self-awareness, and I think that's a key component here, is understanding, you know what, we've got to do what we can. We've got to be a little bit more intentional in trying to chase down these rebounds, and maybe it's permeated throughout the team. And who knows? Maybe it could be. My feeling is no, but I'd like to say it would be that sustainable over the course of the season.
That's the idea behind the Heat culture. Nastiest, hardest working thing is that this is sustainable. We train to do this over the course of an 82-game season. Between the pace, between the offensive rebounding, between the nights where you are going to make a lot of threes, hopefully this is just enough for the Heat, a Heat team that has clearly decided we're going to chase wins this season. Doesn't matter. We even if we're not going to win the finals, we understand whatever it is. They're going to chase as many wins. They're going to try to make the playoffs. And if this is just another small edge that they can create, then yeah, hopefully on most nights it works out for them. Credit cookies ready to come out of the oven. Next.
Today's game is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, where stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's a perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you're a new customer, you can bet just $5 and you get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count. Because of after the Super Bowl, the season's over. The last call for football on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. We'll be right back.
I can't believe the stupid Patriots made the Super Bowl. Like, just a few years after Tom Brady leaves and the adult, we've been waiting 30 years to win a playoff game since Marino left, and they're right back in the. I can't stand it, man. Like, I can't believe Bo Nix got hurt. Otherwise, I think the Broncos. Oh, I don't even know if I'm gonna watch this stupid game, David.
I had no idea the Patriots had won, to be honest with you.
You weren't paying attention?
I was not. The season ended for me a long time ago.
This season ended for me 30 years ago. I hate football so much. The NBA trade deadline is basically here. We want to give you a free month of our new Everydayer Club to help you get ready. If you need a group chat to keep up with the chaos, join ours. The Everydayer Club gets you access to a group chat on Discord just for Heat fans, plus national chats where you can hang out with fans from across the league. You also get ad-free versions of this show, and if you sign up by the trade deadline on February 5th, you can use the code DEADLINE, DEADLINE, to get your first month for free. Tap the link in the show notes to learn more. David?
Uh-oh. Been a while.
It's been a
nice
minute.
To be back. Yeah.
It's time for the tasty segment of Locked On Heat. It's time for credit cookies after another Heat win. As always, we have 10 cookies to give out. David, where do you want to begin?
Well, I mentioned it earlier, so I might as well kill the suspense now, but I think Jaquez Jr gets one credit cookie on the night. I think he was really solid in his 23 minutes, getting the starting nod there. Finished 2 of 5 from the floor for 7 points, but those 6 rebounds were huge. 3 assists were nice. Also had some good defensive possessions there. And I don't think that was necessarily his strength coming into college. The effort was there, the competitive spirit. Those were all the things that Miami really liked about him when they drafted him. But I think he's actually evolved into a really solid player. Like, he is showing real flashes there. I don't know what his ceiling is, and it's probably too early to even try and put anything like that on him.
I don't even want to talk about it.
I don't even want to assess that far into advance, but I've liked what I've seen. There are moments there, possessions there, where I'm like, oh, you know what? The kid's got something. And whether it's a nice pass, good recognition, even the confidence and willingness to take corner threes, I think those were huge. Like, he was 1 of 3 from 3-point range. So not great high levels of production or anything like that, but still helping in small moments there. That's really all this team is. For a team that's like built the way they are, as egalitarian as they've been all season long, where they're kind of expecting and hoping where everybody has a positive contribution, you need a guy like Cass to step up in whatever limited playing time he's getting. And I think he certainly did tonight. He was a +6 out on the floor. That counts for something. He also had a block on the night. So just a lot of little things, and it's helped Miami to get that victory.
Congrats, Kasparis Jaquez for your first credit cookie of the season.
That's his first. Yeah,
his
wow.
First. Okay. You know what he does, David?
What's that?
He does stuff.
Oh,
he does stuff.
He's the Pella Larson rookie.
I love it. I
winner.
love guys that do stuff. Jaquez coming out of college. We did the whole scouting report on him. Yeah. Interestingly enough, he was our first Blue Notebook. We could have stopped our entire Blue Notebook series on just him because that's who he drafted. But what stood out to me on film with him is pick and roll ball handler, good passer, gets 2 feet in the paint, good reads, uses that height to see over the defense and deliver those passes over the defense. I didn't see do stuff from him, but this guy does stuff. And I don't know how the Heat saw it, but congrats to them. They got a real player there. It doesn't have to just be with the passing. He did have the 3 assists to 0 turnovers tonight. That's been great. And the passing, and I've been really impressed with how he gets 2 feet in the paint. Very similar to Davion Mitchell, right? They obviously are different players, but what the things they both do is they get 2 feet in the paint and they spray out. And that is, with Davion out in particular, that's hugely important. I've been impressed with him defensively.
Yeah.
He's not elite. He's not a train wreck. Like, he's not a traffic cone on that end. And I've been really impressed with him there, too. So I'm glad he got his first cookie of the season. Who's next?
Speaking of doing stuff, the guy who backs up Kasparis Jaquez, I've got Drew Smith with his 23 minutes, getting 2 credit cookies for his impact tonight. It seemed like every time he was out there, he was doing stuff. 5 of 8 from the floor, 1 of 3 from three-point range, just 2 rebounds and a steal, only 1 turnover. But you know what? It was just
like he didn't get enough credit for steals. He only had 1 steal in this game.
Yeah, he was just a constant menace. Like after that one game,
that more deflections.
Yeah, probably. I didn't keep track of those. I'm sure the stats will bear that out. But it just seemed like he was impactful, whether it was annoying Grayson Allen or Colin Gillespie or just doing the little things here and there. Just even getting to the paint, had a really nice opportunity there on a fast break possession, and they kind of just filled with a step through to finish with a layup there. That was a really nice momentum shift for Miami. He's had some really nice possessions over the weekend and even over the West Coast road trip, with minus that a game that he didn't play. And he's just been Drew Smith. He's really good. He's really solid. It's nice to see.
It's great. And I understand that we want to bring some high-level analysis to this show. And you're absolutely right in terms of the step-through and the momentum thing and the steals and the deflections. We could talk about all that stuff. We could talk about the advanced stats. We could talk about the fact that he was a plus 11. I'm sorry, that's not right. He had 11 points. He was a -3, but I don't care. He had 11 points in a game that was pretty close for most of the night. He made 5 field goal attempts. Big deal, 5 field goal attempts. Like everybody, that's a season high for Drew Smith. This is a guy who is in the rotation sometimes. He's in the rotation right now. He was out of the rotation, in the rotation right now because of injuries. He's making the most of his minutes, not just on this game, but I thought he played really well against Utah. 10 rebounds against the Jazz on Saturday night, too. So he's been making the most of his minutes. The fact that he made 5 shots tonight is huge. That was big for Drew Smith. So sometimes it just is, hey, sometimes you just got to put points on the board.
I've got 3 credit cookies going to Jaime Jaquez. I think he was Miami's best player today. 8 of 11 from the floor. Also finished with 5 rebounds, 6 assists, the continued evolution there. I think he's actually even getting better defensively as well. I know he still has his moments where he's kind of being mismatched or whether he's being attacked defensively. But overall, I think he's just found a nice rhythm on both sides. And he's just looking the way he did earlier this season, finished with 20 points on the night. What more can you say there? I think he had a really solid game, and so I gave him 3 credit cookies. I don't think he can. I felt like that was a little low, but it also felt like I just wanted to be as generous as possible to a number of players. So I don't know if you have any argument.
I mean, still, I think 3 is fine. He had 6 assists tonight. In my notes, I have that Jaime is becoming underrated as a passer. He's become a really important passer for this team, and that is not something that I saw coming this season for Jaime. We talked about his development and his growth in the areas for him to do those things. We didn't really talk about his passing, but that's become a real part of his game in terms, like, he's a lot of time, like, he is the second unit point guard, right? Like, he's running those units a lot. So I think it's become really important. He's added this great over-the-top pass to Norm Powell in transition early in the game. And then when this game got a little like a little sticky there in the third quarter, he made a couple of tough buckets at the end of that quarter. And then the Heat give up an open three to Livers at the end of that quarter, and that was just like a total miss. Total, like, second night of a back-to-back, tired legs, just sort of forgot about him. So the Suns cut the lead to 82-77, and I was like, that feels like one of those things that can kind of come back to bite us. Jaime comes out in the fourth quarter, bailout mid-range jumper to go back up 7. And I just thought that, like, those little shots from Jaime, like those well-timed buckets, were so important for the Heat tonight.
Absolutely. I've got 2 credit cookies going to Bam Adebayo. Not a great night, not sensational. Solid production, 22 points on 6 of 16 shooting, 8 of 8 for the line. That made a difference to me. And he also had 7 rebounds, 2 steals, an assist, and a block. So I think it was just a really solid game. Not his best over this recent stretch, but certainly a really solid overall game for him. And I think he did a really good job defensively as well, even though he finished with a -7 out on the floor in his 32 minutes. I think it was a solid game. 2 credit cookies for him. And I've got 1 credit cookie going to Andrew Wiggins, who got a double-double in the night with his 10 rebounds. We talked about those, that need to create those extra possessions. I think he was great. 4 offensive rebounds, really solid, 6 defensive rebounds, 3 assists, 10 points on 5 of 12 shooting. Again, nobody shot particularly well other than Jaime out there, but I think Andrew really had a positive impact, so he gets 1 credit cookie. And the last credit cookie, I'm feeling kind of weird about this one. I'm going with Nico Jovic over Pelle Larsson here, because I think Nico had some solid moments, at least in my opinion. 6 rebounds, 12 points. I think I'm not going to say he's bounced back or anything like that. I'm done making any kind of pronouncements regarding any kind of consistent effort from Nico, but he seemed to have figured out something, at least tonight against
credit
the
where
Phoenix
it's due.
Suns.
He had a good game.
Yeah, and I think he deserves at least the 1 credit cookie.
The fact that he is, he was a plus 17 in this game, right? The Suns aren't like loaded with center depth, but even Nico's not a center. So the fact that he was still going up against these guys and more than holding his own, creating advantages with that second unit, I thought he did a really nice job spacing the floor. He made some really important shots, I thought, in the first half in particular. He made a corner 3 in this game to the Heat missed their 12 of their first 13 3-pointers, and then Nico came in and made one, and I thought that was kind of a jolt to the offensive arm of the Miami Heat.
Doubt.
So I'm totally okay with this. I have 0 complaints about your credit cookies. I thought you nailed it.
Excellent.
Credit cookie to David. If we had an extra one lying around, I'd give it to you. We're going to get to our listener questions after this, including one about how important Pelle Larsson has become to this team. And is this now the expectation from Bam Adebayo going forward?
Mm-hmm. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena. Miami's coming back this week. You can be there to support the crowd, the energy, the moments. Getting tickets, though, that part hasn't always been so simple nor so fun. That's why Game Time's become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs, with the fans. You pull up on the Game Time app, you pick an upcoming NBA game, and you get tickets locked in within minutes. You love seeing the all-in price upfront. There's no surprise fees at checkout. You know exactly what you're getting and what you're going to pay for it. You can see exactly where you're going to be sitting. If it's an arena you haven't been to or any kind of venue you've never seen before, you'll get exactly the view that you'll get from whatever seat you pick. And they've got great last-minute options, too, with NBA tickets showing up at solid prices. Everything feels quick, intuitive, and stress-free from start to finish. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON. You get $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. And remember, it's gametime.co, not .com. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Locked On Heat. Let's go to the text line. You can get text from us and submit questions for the postgame shows with the link in the show notes or text 786-998-7029. Got a bunch to get to here, David, so we're going to be quick with them. But this one comes from Jonah, who writes in, has Pella made himself our third most important player this season? Seems a bit hyperbolic. It does. But our record, when he plays 25-plus minutes, says otherwise. David, the Heat, after tonight's game, 17-7 when Pella Larsson logs 25 or more minutes. We know the record when he starts, right? 16-10 when Pella is starting. I like the minutes played, because I do think that's just more important than who starts or whatever. But
right.
There's no question that he makes an impact when he plays a lot of minutes. He's deserving these minutes right now. Third most important player, though, seems strong to me. I mean, I don't know that we need to necessarily rank these guys, but he's been great.
Yeah, I mean, you got Norm, you got Bam,
yeah,
you got Jaime, you got Wiggs.
Yeah, right off the bat.
That's
I mean, it's
four.
pretty easy. I mean, then what do you do with guys like Tyler Hero who've been in and out? Like when Tyler Hero plays, is how he plays is very important to Miami, and Kel'el Ware, kind of same thing. It's tough to kind of do this.
To say he's the third most important player is probably excessive, but you know what? We can still appreciate what he does when he's out there, and I think that's the key. And I think fans do. Like the effort's there, all the little things he does, the annoying the opposing players, mixing it up, being physical, drawing fouls, getting hit in the face. I love all that stuff. I mean, what is that Twitter account? Pella
Did Pella get hit in the face?
Yeah, seriously. Like that is top-notch stuff right there.
And it's not on Twitter, every game. I think it was twice in this one.
Well, he got hit by Kasperson like within the first couple of minutes of the game too, right? I think like chasing down a rebound, Jaquez Jr hit him in the face, and Pella got knocked down. I don't know if he got knocked.
Pella has the Twitter account. Dwight Powell for the Mavericks has a Twitter account. He also gets hit in the face all the time. The difference between Pella Larsson and Dwight Powell is Pella Larsson plays every game.
Yeah,
I mean he's got to lead the league in being hit in the face. So I mean, but am I crazy to say I think that matters? Like when your teammates see you taking shots in the face over and over again every single night, like they're gonna rally behind you. They're gonna respect you, right? Like I think that stuff does matter, right? In a weird way.
I don't know. I you know what I like though? I like when he was talking about his game against DeRozan and the Kings, and he was in the locker room, and he said something about, oh, I didn't say anything to him, or I didn't respond to what DeRozan was saying. And he was getting ragged on by his teammates in the back. I think it was Bam or Powell kind of leading the charge there, saying, oh, what? You didn't say anything. Like, I thought that was hilarious. So, like, they know what he is. And I think that's the thing, is that, you know what, for a guy from Europe, the way he is, I think they love the effort. The fact that he's a second-year player, and he doesn't give a damn, and he doesn't back down from anybody.
When was the last time we had a guy that got under other players' skin like this? I'm trying to think.
Haslam?
That's what I was saying. It's like UD, right? And I mean, it wasn't that long ago, but he also played for the team for 20 years. So it's like, it was like, when was the last time we acquired somebody in one way, shape, or form? It's been a long time, and I like having a guy like that. I love the Dylan Brooks types. I've always been a sucker for just like the kind of just dirty's not the right word, but like that kind of extra type of personality kind of player. And if Pella's that, man, I'm even more of a fan than I already was.
I just wish they had like a long playoff run where they could go up against one of the top teams, and then he could have one of those decisive games, so that the rest of the fan base around the league could be like, who the hell is this Pella Larsson guy? I hate him. He's perfect for that.
We need more people to hate Pella Larsson in order for our appreciation, I think, to go up. And I think that's a sweet spot. That's where you want to be. Billy writes in, over the last 5 games, Bam is averaging almost 23.5 points. Could be closer to 28 if it wasn't for that 1 4-point clunker. Is this the beginning of what now seems to be the annual case that Bam has a terrible first half of the season and then an all-star / all-NBA second half of the season? It's interesting. I mean, that was the case last year.
Yep.
Maybe there's something to it, David.
I don't know. I'd like to think that Bam isn't making that kind of a concerted effort, because that kind of sucks then if he's just like willfully saying, you know what, I'm just going to take the first 40 games off. And I don't think that's what he's been doing necessarily, but you can tell that he's getting better. And maybe, maybe it's injury too. Like maybe he's not hurt, and he's finally getting into that kind of rhythm that allows him to get into the place where he's able to score more effectively. I don't know. I don't think he's been clear about it. He's going to be evasive because that's just who Bam is. At the same time, I don't know. I'm not gonna. It's too small a sample size to say last season being what it was, and then this season to say it's going to be an annual thing for him. Because I think Bam is more of an 82 game player more than anything else, and a guy who can step it up in the playoffs as well. So I don't know that he's a guy who will consciously take off the first half of the season and then just kind of turn it on for the last 40 games.
Yeah, I don't even know how much I buy it for this year. I mean, he had the one long slump, but for the first 20 games, he was averaging 19 and 9, shooting 48% from the floor.
In a new offense,
and
was
shooting
kind of
34% from three.
Yeah.
Like it was that slump that is so outsized in everybody's mind that we think that, oh, he had such a bad first half. He wasn't bad for the entire first half. He was bad for the second half of the first half. But he was really good for the first half of the first half. You know? So I don't know. I don't even know if I buy it for this year. Andrew writes in, is Bam finally making the leap? We just answered that. Follow-up question would be, if Bam is finding this new success at center again, what does this mean for the long-term future of Kel'el Ware? Do we then have to trade for a Giannis or Anthony Davis type long-term, or is there just a time component if we can't land Ware for them to adapt to the starting lineup?
Well, here's the question. If
Okay.
I can answer that question with a question, and I'll
Yes.
pose it to you. We know now Kel'el Ware wasn't included in trade talks for Kevin Durant. Knowing what we know about what we've seen from KD this year in Houston and what we've seen from Kel'el this year with Miami, would you have included him in that deal for Kevin Durant?
No, I don't think you could do it, because I still, maybe I'm a sucker for what the Heat front office is still trying to do. I still think you want Kel'el Ware to try to include in a Giannis trade.
Okay, fair enough.
And I think Ware,
But you would be willing
Ware's
to
been
include
mostly
him.
good also, and I think Durant's been awesome. Like Durant's
Yeah.
going to probably make an All NBA team again. But
Certainly. Are the concerns for Giannis? I know this is a whole other topic here. Are the concerns for Giannis and the health concerns enough to kind of say, you know what, I don't want to go after a player like Adetokounmpo? Because I know a lot of fans have already started to concern themselves. Not that it's a realistic deal necessarily, or it's not like Miami is a shoe-in to land Giannis, but with the growing injury issues over the course of this season, is that enough to kind of say, you know what, maybe Giannis isn't the right superstar to go after?
Malachi wrote in a question very similar to this. Should the Heat still pursue Giannis and Ja Morant, although they're injured again, or should the Heat punt on any trades at the deadline and just wait till the summer? For Ja Morant, I wouldn't trade for him at this point. This new injury, I'm just like, no. Like, maybe in the summer we can revisit it. I'm done talking about Ja Morant now. I'm done. I'm not answering another Ja Morant question. I'm not trading for him. For Giannis, I would still trade for him. It's Giannis. I don't care. I don't care. Now, would I include Kel'el Ware? I think you have to. I don't think you get Giannis without including Kel'el Ware. So if I'm still willing to trade for Giannis, then I guess I'm by default willing to include Kel'el Ware in that, right? In terms of Ware, like, I don't think him coming off the bench, because Bam has found more success playing center. The Heat are better when Bam plays center without Ware. Yeah. The Heat are better when Ware plays center without Bam, right? Like, splitting them up is the right move to win games right now. That to me does not change anything for me in terms of how I value Kel'el Ware, evaluate the trade deadline or anything. Like, for right now, it's fine. Bam starts, Kel'el Ware comes off the bench. You have one of the best backup centers, if not the best backup center in the league. You have a strength on your roster. Live with it. It's okay. I wouldn't make any sort of decisions based on that rotation decision right now. Zay writes in, this will be the last one, and we will talk about more Giannis stuff on tomorrow's episode. But Zay writes in for our final question. Would it be best for the Heat to make some type of move at the deadline if Giannis is held until the summer? So let's take Giannis off the table, David. Do you think it would be best for the Heat to make some kind of move at the deadline? I guess the obvious answer is depends.
Yeah, I mean, depends on what. I think it would be more about trading away a player that's currently on the roster to maybe bring in some additional draft capital or something like that you could include in a trade for Giannis, if that's the case. Like, we've talked about it before. As much as we think Wiggins is helpful, Norm Powell has been great for Miami this season, et cetera. Like, we don't know what their futures are in Miami, and they might be the best and most movable players on this roster, that being the case. I don't know if you can trade one or both of them and land even more draft capital that you might be able to use in order to acquire that superstar this offseason. I don't see why Miami's front office wouldn't do it.
How many first-round picks would it take for you to trade Pelle Larsson?
7.
Sounds about right. Thanks for tuning in today to Locked On Heat. We'll be back tomorrow with a look at the latest reporting ahead of the NBA trade deadline. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Heat so you get all of the latest episodes.